Coming up on today's podcast show.
Those kind of places. What most people don't know is that Bermuda is one of the world's leading offshore financial jurisdictions, and they have 75% of the world's Fortune 100 companies operate within the country, and they actually are one of the major players in the insurance and reinsurance industry behind London and New York.
On this episode of the show, we are diving into the company Custodian Life with their sales director, Robin Thuresson, and understand how their platform can help IFAs access a wider selection of asset classes through a personal portfolio bond. We're also going to see how their approach might be more suitable to the IFA's business model and their clientele. So let's jump right in.
Just to give a brief introduction to Custodian Life, they are a life company that are based out of Bermuda. So they are quite recent in the market, and they only got set up in 2011 when they got their license and got incorporated. They have only been marketing themselves since about 2014. It took a couple of years to create some, they have some proprietary software that, clients can use to view their policies in the system called a client manager system. And so by 2014, all this was ready, and they launched into the market. So they initially focused primarily on Southeast Asia, mainly because it's a market that they knew quite well. And one of the people working for the sales at that point in time was my old colleague, Ben Rees, and he'd been working at Hansard in Asia before. So I actually came on board in 2015. So at this point, the company was still quite small. And so the main focus then, as I said, was mainly Southeast Asia. But eventually the company just naturally grew, and then suddenly we had clients all over the world. So we dealt with IFAs in South America, in Russia, in Europe, and a lot of other places. And at the time, I was actually quite new into the offshore industry. I'd previously been working at a hedge fund in Bangkok, and I actually started doing some business development management work for the hedge fund. So I got introduced to the IFA industry and had a lot of meetings in Bangkok. And then So when I made the move to start Custodian Life, I already had some experience. But it took some time to learn the product and how everything works.
So if I could just cut in there. So then what makes your platform or your product unique compared to the other life companies?
Yeah, so just from the start, Custodian Life had focused on making the product as modern as possible and as innovative as possible. So rather than going down the route of the other old life companies and having to send faxes and all these kind of things, Custodian Life from the start just wanted to set it up to make it as online and as easy as possible to use. I think I mentioned before that Custodian Life have an online client manager system, which they put in place. So this basically allows the advisor and the client to go in, and they can easily view the client's policies and get updated details. And Custodian Life also, they can just work off of scanned documents. So any document that you send to Custodian Life, if it's a new application for a client, if it's a dealing instruction, or if it's a withdrawal form, you just have to get the client to sign it, and then you just scan it and send it directly to the back office, and then they can begin working on this right away. So basically, this allowed Custodian Life to be a lot more quicker and efficient. So if someone sends in a new application form for a client, the back office usually responds within 24 hours, 48 hours, and they provide the policy number, and the client can then transfer the money. Another big factor is that Custodian Life are very flexible in terms of the wide spectrum of investments that clients can invest into. Basically, if Custodian Life approve the asset and the bank that they use can purchase it, then it's usually not a problem to hold in the policy. So this can be things like hedge funds, it can be unlisted shares, unlisted bonds. It can even be things like private equity, and they can even do things like cryptocurrencies. So that's basically one of the ways that they try to stand out. Like the example of cryptocurrencies, I don't think any other life company accept this as an asset. Another thing that really stands out about Custodian Life is that they have an optional trading platform that you can attach to the policy. So this is basically a trading account that's powered by a company called Exante, who are based in Malta. So this allows the clients to basically set up a trading account that they can trade real time, 24 hours, products such as stocks, ETFs, bonds. They can even do options, futures, so a wide range of instruments. And the benefit of using this trading platform is that you can make the trades real time and get positions right away, and then B, that it's a lot more cheaper than purchasing assets directly through the Custodian Life bond. So for instance, through the trading platform, if you buy like a share of Apple in the US, it costs something like 2 cents per share. So if you buy like 1,000 shares, it's like $20 you have to pay. Custodian Life, they only have one product, which is their portfolio bond, or their EIB. So they basically tried to make this product as flexible as possible. So basically when it comes to things like charging structures, you can an online system where you can customize this to make it suit the advisor and the client. So you can choose to set up the policy over 1 year or over 10 years, then you can do a lot of other rebates and adjustments.
Okay. If we were to compare, you mentioned price earlier. Sorry, is your bond more or less the similar sort of price as what you'd expect from perhaps one of the other life company bonds?
Yeah, so the pricing wise, it's quite similar to the other life companies at the moment. I think in terms of customizability, I think Custodian Life have a much more unique type of charging structure. So the client advisor can really customize and make tailor-made charging structure. But I think in overall prices, I think it's all relatively similar.
If a financial advisor or a financial intermediary wanted to set up an account for their clients, how do they go about doing that? What would they need to do with you guys?
Yeah, so first of all, the financial advisory company would have to reach out to us and apply for terms of business. So this is basically just a terms of business form that needs to be filled in along with supporting documents for the company. Once we have this, the compliance team will process the terms of business application, and once that's all approved, then the welcome letter will be sent out to the IFA organization, and they will then have access to the Custodian Life online client management system. So at that point, then they can start to sign up clients. All they would basically have to do is that they would just have to get their clients to fill in the application form, which they can do on the computer or do it by hand, and they would then have to collect a proof of identity and also a proof of address from within the 3 months of the client. These documents just need to be scanned and copied and then sent to the Custodian Life back office, and they will process it. And in terms of the proof of ID and proof of address, these can be certified by the financial advisor themselves. So it's just a quick certification, and then they send it to the back office. So once that's sent in, the client will then get a policy number, and then they can transfer their premium to Custodian Life. And once that's all set up, then they can start placing trades in the policy.
So if I'm a financial advisor and I've got a bank of clients who have got existing personal portfolio bonds, is it worth perhaps closing the bond and opening a new account with you guys, or is it worth having 2 portfolio bonds? What would your advice be on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've actually had a lot of the business that have come in over the past couple of years has been from people that are doing transfers from another life company into a Custodian Life policy. I think the reasons for doing so are a bit varied. Some of them feel that they don't get the support that they need from the other life companies if they have, for example, moved out of the market. Some people, want to be able to access a wider spectrum of assets, so they feel that it's worthwhile moving the client's assets from one company to a Custodian Life policy. And then perhaps it's if a client has like a savings plan or something, they might extract some units and then send it over to a policy with Custodian Life as well. So the reasons do vary, and the cost to the clients vary as well, depending on what kind of a product they are in before they get moved over. But as I mentioned before, the charging structure is quite flexible, so the advisor can give a lot of rebates to reduce the fees for the clients once they transfer over the assets to Custodian Life. When it comes to the actual transfer, we found that it's been quite straightforward to transfer assets from most other life companies to Custodian Life. And this is usually done in two ways. Either there's an asset transfer where they in-specie asset transfer, where they will actually transfer the existing holdings from the other policy into a Custodian Life policy. This can sometimes take quite a bit of time, depending on how liquid the assets are. But in some cases, it's the advisor's preferred if the clients are locked into some investments. For instance, we found that the easiest, the most efficient way is if the client just surrenders a policy or does a withdrawal of their policy from another life company, and then the other life company can transfer the cash straight, so the money doesn't have to go back to the client. The client doesn't have to send it directly. It can come straight from the other life company, much quicker and more efficient.
Okay, you mentioned, you sort of touched on support, and some of the life companies are arguably lacking the support which the IFAs require. What kind of support are you currently offering IFAs at the moment? What makes you different in that space?
For the most part, my job, I travel around the region a lot. So I'm based in Jakarta, but I'm half of the month I'm on the road traveling around different places, and I try to cover some other places outside of Asia as well. So I occasionally go to the Middle East, I go to Russia, I go to other places in Europe. When I'm off traveling, I'm happy to meet up just with the advisor, take them, drinks of coffee, or I'm available to do, presentations or organize events for either, their staff or potential or future clients. On top of going out and visiting clients and, introducing the product, engaging with them, I'm always available via WhatsApp or email or Skype or phone. So from the moment I wake up to the time I go to sleep, basically, I'm ready to be in contact with the IFAs. And Custodian Life, currently they have back office staff in Sweden, so they are always ready to help out as well and deal with all the admin back office issues. And Custodian Life are actually looking to add some back office staff in Spain soon. So soon they will have some Spanish-speaking back office staff as well. And this will help with some IFAs that we have in South America and Spain. And usually once or twice a year, someone senior from Custodian Life will come out to Asia to meet with the IFAs as well and to organize some events.
Interesting. So you mentioned the bond is more or less domiciled in Bermuda, and you've got your sales office based in Indonesia, and then you've got your administration back office that's based in Sweden and soon to open in Spain.
So it's spreading across the world.
Good, you've got multiple touch points.
And then Custodian Life, they also deal with some, master agents and distributors they put in a few places. So they have some in South America that can help out the market there. They have some, closer to Europe. So they're building up small businesses, everywhere across the world.
Brilliant. What's the main takeaway message you'd like to share with our audience, Robin?
I think that if they are looking for a very easy company to work with, as I said, everything is done by, scanned copies, and they're looking at, maybe investing into things that, other life companies don't necessarily accept. I know at the moment there's a lot of, loan notes and corporate bonds and hedge funds and stuff that are on the market that other life companies don't accept. I think that Custodian Life is a great tool for them to be able to use for their clients. And like I said, Custodian Life they're still quite small, even though they've been around for 5 years. I do have direct contact, with the owners and the people who are head of the company. So if there's any feedback or changes from advisors, then we look at implementing this and doing what we can to make those changes. The AUM of the company is now a bit over 200 million, which is quite decent growth for only being on the market for a couple of years.
What advice could you share that a financial advisor can pass on to their clients?
Yeah, I think in terms of Custodian Life, I think one of the tough selling points, at least in the beginning, was to get people comfortable with Bermuda rather than, most advisors are used to Isle of Man or, those kind of places. What most people don't know is that Bermuda is one of the world's leading offshore financial jurisdictions, and they have 75% of the world's Fortune 100 companies operate within the country. And they actually are one of the major players in the insurance and reinsurance industry behind London and New York. So that is partially why Custodian Life have chosen Bermuda as well to set up the company. Another important for advisors to know is that Bermuda offer quite strong client protection. So Custodian Life have actually adopted the Segregated Accounts Act. So this means that any policy that is under Custodian Life is held as a segregated account. This essentially protects clients if something were to go wrong with Custodian Life. So in the unlikely event that Custodian Life were to become insolvent, for instance, then they would not be able to use any of the clients' cash or assets to pay off anyone that they have a liability to. Yeah, I think that's quite important for advisors to understand.
So, Robin, thanks very much for that. If somebody wanted to reach out to yourself and Custodian Life, what's the best way of doing so?
Yes, so the best way to reach me would be on my email. So my email is r.thuresson, Thuresson @custodianlife.com. And they can also reach me on my phone number plus 6281286266929. So I'm very happy to set up Skype meetings or meetings over the phone to go over the product in more detail and to help them to get set up with terms of business.
Great. Thanks very much, Robin.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks for your time.